Hey now, what's up everybody? My name is Mike Brown, aka ReviewKingMB, and obviously I got back from a screening after seeing The Huntsman, Winter's War. This is a 2016 film that's a sequel or a prequel to Snow White and the Huntsman, the film that came out a couple of years ago. Now, it's almost like the making of this movie, the inner workings of how this movie finally happened, is more interesting and fascinating than the actual movie itself. But before I get to that, this movie is directed by Cedric Nicholas Trowan. The plot is we meet Chris Hemsworth as Eric, aka the Huntsman. And like I said, this film, when I went into it, I wasn't sure if it was a sequel, because that's what I initially thought it was. But then I heard little things about it being a prequel, so I was confused. At the beginning, it's a prequel, and you see the Huntsman as a kid, how he was taken from his village, how he was brought to the Ice Queen, Freya, played by Emily Blunt. And you see how he was trained to be a huntsman, sort of almost all of these kids programmed to be huntsmen, and that's where his story takes off. And I was, at the beginning of this movie, I was watching it and thinking, so it's a prequel. And I was a little upset, because unlike probably some people, I enjoyed Snow White and the Huntsman, that movie. I enjoyed it. Was it perfect? I don't know, but I enjoyed it. So I was looking forward to this, but more so as a sequel, because there's so many prequels nowadays. And prequels always have that thing where even if it's an interesting story, even if the acting's good, the action's good, all of that stuff, you can still enjoy it on a certain level. There's always going to be the back of your head. You're going to be looking at certain characters and saying, well, he's not going to die or she's not going to die because the other movie that's after this. And if there's characters in this movie that you don't know from the after movie, you go, well, they're probably going to die, or at least they have the most likely chance to die. And maybe, just maybe, sometimes that takes you out of it. But then this movie did something interesting. I don't know, maybe 15, 20 minutes in, it then said, hey, 7 years later, here's the events which is post Snow White and the Huntsman. So then it turns into a sequel. It's almost like we got the best of both worlds. I like Chris Hemsworth as the Huntsman. He was one of the best parts of the first movie, so it makes all too much sense to make him the main character in this film. You could say that the very beginning of the movie, it was very tense, or very just a serious movie, straightforward movie, in that you were hoping for maybe some life to be put into it. But then that's when we got introduced to Nick Frost as Nian, who was one of the 7 dwarfs from the first movie. So he's back. His brother is also a dwarf in this movie, and then they run into 2 female dwarves. So we have dwarf characters who are very much providing humor in this film. Much needed humor. Humor that made me have more fun with the film, and that's what sort of raised it up a little bit. Now, speaking of raising it up a little bit, Jessica Chastain is here as a character, Sarah, pretty much the love interest of Chris Hemsworth, and I really like Jessica Chastain. In general, I like her as an actress, and I guess I've always found her attractive, but this movie, I think it is her most attractive, because she is a badass, sort of Chris Hemsworth's equal, and she has this thick Irish accent, which I guess Hemsworth also kind of has, but I don't remember at all from the Snow White movie. There's something about her accent, too, that just makes me like her even more. I very much enjoyed her here. Emily Blunt as the Ice Queen, Freya. She's an interesting character. I could see some people coming out of this and saying, oh, okay, she was kind of boring, or she was very cold in her performance. I know, cheap pun. But it's true. She kind of does play this very dry and very straight and very emotionless. And some people might not like that, or might not think she's doing a good job, but I did like it, because that's kind of the point of her character. She is cold-blooded. There was an event that happened to her that sort of set her on this path and made her this cold. We also have Charlize Theron back as Queen Ravonna. And if some people who did see The Huntsman are going, how is that possible? How is Charlize Theron back? Her character died in the last movie. She does come back. I'm not saying you're going to completely buy it, but I was willing to go with it because Charlize Theron, great actress. I love what she brings to this character. She's kind of over the top, but she plays evil very well. Obviously, Kristen Stewart played Snow White in the first film, and say what you want to say about her as an actress or whether or not you liked her as Snow White. Snow White is a very important part of this story, of this movie, series, franchise, whatever you want to call it, and she's not here. Snow White's presence is very much here. She's talked about a lot. She's mentioned a lot. You even see a shot of somebody that's supposed to be her from the back, and it's like, oh, okay, I guess that's supposed to be her. But she's not here, and there is something missing to that point. This movie has great CGI. It's a good-looking movie. It has good action. Is it better than the first movie? Probably not. And if you're somebody who didn't like the first movie, there's probably not going to be a whole lot here for you. But if you did like the first movie, or if you were mildly intrigued by it and want to see more, I think this provides that. I think this gets you, like I said, the best of both worlds, prequel, sequel. I'm going to give this movie a matinee. So that means that you can go to the theater at an early showing, see it cheaper, and get the theater experience, all for good fun. So guys, let me know in the comments below if you're at all even a little interested in seeing The Huntsman Winter's War. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Later!